Okay, I think I have my shit together enough for this video. This is the second or third time that I've tried to shoot this, and every time I try, something's off. I know the background is a mess. I do not have the poles for my backdrop in the house. They're in my car still from DragonCon, and I wasn't like super hard pressed to go get them out. So we're just gonna deal with the messy background. It's part of who I am as a person. I am, first of all, I'm super happy to be back to doing these videos. My room is a mess, and I need to like go through it and clean it up a little bit and make it more geared towards being able to do multiple things in here instead of sitting on my bed and playing video games. But anyway, the last couple of videos that I've done have been mostly DragonCon work, so like my May bunny and doing the little deco pieces for the DragonCon parties. But my first video back to talking about fandom stuff, talking about stuff that I want people to know about, is actually going to be a video where I rank the 9 possible companions in the base game Dragon Age Inquisition. So there's 9 possible companions, and I didn't want to just be like, oh, this is the order that I put them in. I wanted to make it slightly more fair than I know I would be, and it's still super fucking biased. Like, I'm not even gonna lie and say this isn't biased, but I did try to ground it a little bit, and the way that I wound up doing it actually put some of these characters in a different order than I would have put them if I just ranked them outright. And that made me kind of feel better about the whole thing. So the way I'm doing this is I have 7 categories that I came up with. It was really hard to figure out like what would be a category, what wouldn't be a category, if anything should be combined, but I'm pretty confident in what I picked. And there's 7 categories, and each category will get them a score out of a possible 10. So their total score will be out of a possible 70. Honestly, I'm a lot less familiar with some of them as travel companions just because I don't use them as much. So I actually spent the week leading up to shooting this video not only playing, but trying to take different people with me than normal. So people who get left behind a lot in my normal playthroughs have been a lot more, I don't want to say crucial, but a lot more important in my current playthrough. And that's kind of nice because I get ideas for, you know, I write the fanfics. I write the smutty fanfics. And I played and I watched videos and I did research, and I wound up coming up with these as the categories. Okay. So recruitment is the first category, and recruitment is based on how easy it is to find them. Do you have to go out of your way? Do they get handed to you? So for like example, Cassandra is she's very like literally the first companion, so she's what I consider being handed to you. It's also how interesting the circumstances are. Like if it's just go fetch somebody, you know, versus somebody you have to, you know, go through a quest and everything. That's how recruitment is going to be ranked. The second category is going to be Skyhold. Skyhold is kind of interesting because it's really a variety of things. So Skyhold includes where they physically are in Skyhold. Do their surroundings make sense for their character? Are they hard to find? Like if you don't know where they are, do you just completely miss them the entire time you're there? And it also combines their physical location with banter they have at Skyhold, and also any character progression that we see. You get the idea. The Winter Palace is ranked by their casual banter around the ballroom, vestibule, wherever they are, and observations that they have. So, you know, they might comment on you, they might comment on other people at the ball, they might comment on other companions, they might have something to say about, you know, Gaspard and Celine and Briella. It really just combines a lot of things. My cheat sheet is still on my Chromebook, so I keep looking down for that. Personal mission is complicated. Personal mission doesn't necessarily have so much defined boundaries as some other games. So, like, for example, the Mass Effect games, like, they have a personal mission. You do it and you get their favor or don't get their favor. Where Dragon Age, they have something that they want you to do, but there's also other things that are going on. And that'll make more sense when I explain them. But like Solas, for example, I think has a lot of personal stuff going on that isn't just going to find the spirit that he wants. Yeah. We'll get there. And also it's how that personal stuff affects the Inquisitor and the Inquisition. Some characters' personal stuff affects that a lot more than others. So that's how that rating is. The next category is romance and or friendship. So some of the possible companions can be romanced. Some can be romanced by anybody. Some will only do certain genders, certain races, etc. So like, for example, Solas will only romance a female Lavellan elf. And then you have somebody like Bull that anyone can romance. So that's kind of... I tried to focus on the quality of the friendship that you can have with that person and any possible romance. The next category is default combat AI. What I mean by that is when a character levels up and I go into the little menu, the character ranking sheet, and I pick the skill, whatever skill I want for that level, can I pick the skills and then just let the character go off and do their thing? Or do I have to go in and change their behaviors, change when they use skills, etc. All that. And the last category is maybe the most fun, and it's party banter. And party banter is literally just what the characters say when they're out and about, just like traveling, like stuff that they just say. And those are the 7 categories. Okay, so the first companion we're going to talk about is Warden Blackwell. Warden Blackwell can be found in the hinterlands for his recruitment. So we're going to talk about recruitment first. He's found in the hinterlands, and he's found near, I believe, the Upper Lake camp. He's got some recruits that he's teaching how to fight, and then you walk up and then there's a fight and then you talk to him. He is one of the harder ones to miss. He's not one that you're going to be like, oh wait, where was that guy? No, you talk to Liliana, and Liliana tells you where he is. And it's super easy peasy, you go find him. The one thing that, and I learned from him, I always go off and get the companions as soon as I can. So imagine my surprise when I find out that some of the characters actually have a time limit. And Blackwell is one of the ones who has a time limit. You have to go find him before you meet Hawk in the Western Approach. I'm pretty sure that's what I read. But I like that his recruitment is kind of a mission, and there's some combat and there's some story, because he finds out about Justinia's death, and he's like, whoa, this isn't cool, I want to help. So his recruitment, I gave a 7. Not bad. Skyhold. Blackwell is really easy to miss in Skyhold. And my first playthrough, I didn't really know what I was doing. And I was stubborn and I refused to look up on a guide or anything like that. So I didn't really talk to him at Skyhold at all that time. Fortunately, since then, I have rectified that, and I do talk to him now. But he's so easy to forget about over there. And it's not just him, I forget about everything over there. There's a vendor over there that I forget about. There's a couple of there's like another entrance to the actual like main part of Skyhold that I forget about. I think his placement's not great. He's the most out of the way. And his conversations aren't really doing it for me either. There's very, very little character progression for me. Really the most interesting conversation is where he complains that you didn't that you found warden stuff while you were out doing something else and he wasn't with you. I would have liked to have seen it. But I didn't know it was there, dude. It's not like I deliberately left you. Anyway, I do think it's interesting that he's actually he's clearly in the middle of doing something. In that little barn thing, he's making the, I guess it's a rocking griffin. It's like a rocking horse, basically. But really, Skyhold doesn't do it for me. So I gave him a 6 overall. Mostly because of the dog story. I don't like the dog story. Winter Palace. All right. Poor Blackwell. And I actually genuinely do feel bad for Blackwell at the Winter Palace because he does not want to be there. Like, the Winter Palace is almost literally probably the last place that he wants to be. I don't know if the truth about him, I'll talk about in the next category. I don't know if that has something to do with it or he just doesn't want to be there. He just wants to go home and take a nap, basically. And it's a whole mood because that Winter Palace is stressful. But he doesn't really have, like, he does have a little bit of conversation, and I was surprised to find out that he actually backs Celine over Gaspard. I don't know why I was expecting him to be a Gaspard fan, but he actually, and he's like vehemently pro Celine versus Gaspard. So that was a pleasant surprise. But he also, Cullen is getting a lot of harassment because Cullen's attractive, like, whatever. And Blackwell is one of the people who's the most concerned about Cullen's comfort, I guess. Like, he's the most worried about Cullen being harassed. So I gave his Winter Palace a 6. Personal mission. So, as you've probably gathered from the last couple categories, I don't really actively like Blackwell. I just don't. I'm sorry. And he's nice. And he seems like the kind of guy that wants to do the right thing and everything like that. But he's the color of beige to me. Except he isn't the color beige, we find out. He actually is pretending to be Warden Blackwell. He's actually a guy named Tom Rainier, like a mercenary, basically, who is a criminal fugitive. And when the actual Blackwell died, he took his name, and he decided he was basically, he's trying to do righteous stuff. He thinks the wardens are noble and everything like that. So that's why he's so obsessed with being a noble. So obsessed. Like, every time you talk to him, everything about him is about being a warden. And of course we find out that he's doing that to compensate, because what happened was he was hired by someone to eliminate an ally of Empress Celine. And he was gonna do it. It was all well and good. But where the attack was gonna happen, it was, I guess he was in his carriage and his family was with him. So his wife and children were there. And Tom found out that there were kids in the carriage and he had time to call off the attack, and he decided not to. So this entire family was massacred. He knew about it. He didn't stop it. And like, what the fuck, dude? Like, how did we go from Mr. like noble warden to you're some hired goon that wasn't up for saving some kids? Like, what the fuck? Jesus. So, I mean, he's an asshole as far as I'm concerned, but he does have one of the more interesting backstories because of all this. And at one point, if you've played the game, you know that he does actually at one point go to Valrio to try to save a guy who's about to be executed for being a part of that. So he does mostly try to do the right thing. Like, did some really bad shit, but he's trying to be better about it now. And honestly, he is one of the more interesting backstories. So I gave him a 9 for personal mission. Personal mission backstory is all kind of the same thing. Next category. This is so hard to do like this. Next category is romance/friendship. I have a thing, and this is something that I should expect from BioWare at this point. But most of the game, you're not actually talking to who you think you're talking to. Like she's pretending to be this other guy, and I feel like any friendship or relationship you build with him is based on this lie. And do we actually know him? People who actively are so crazy about him, we don't even know him. We don't really know him. So to me, it's just a whole big lie, and it annoys the shit out of me. So his romance, I give a 5. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna play later. I'm gonna play into it interestingly. So the next category is, what is it? Default combat AI. So every companion is limited in their abilities except for one category by what class they are. So he's a warrior, so his abilities are going to be limited to that of a warrior. And he's reliable, he's mostly reliable, but he's really unremarkable. Like when I decide I'm going to go into a map and I play as a mage. So because I am a mage and I'm kind of squishy, I usually bring another mage, a rogue, and a warrior. And there's really just not anything about his combat AI that makes me want to take him over the other warriors. But I mean, you can mostly leave him unbabysat, but So he got a 6 for that. And I did start bringing him around more with me this week when I was playing, just so I could get a better feel for him, because I didn't want all of his scores to be based on how I view him. So I was like, all right, let me take him around, see what he has to say while we're out and about. And quite frankly, I think he's rude as fuck. Some of the things that he says to people are so, even if it sounds like a compliment, it's backhanded. He brings up to Ferric, for example, that he read some of Hard and Hightown, and Ferric's like, oh, great. Why only some of it? And he basically is like, oh, I was on the shitter, and I was reading it on the shitter, and some of the pages were missing. He said that. I was like, did you really just say that to Ferric? Wow, dude, that's fucking rude. And a lot of it, he's just he tells everybody they're insane or they're whatever. He doesn't have very much nice stuff to say about anybody, and it's not even interesting on top of it. Some of the other characters throw shade, but at least theirs is interesting. So for party banter, I gave him a 6. So if we go back through his scores, recruitment is 7, Skyhold is 6, Winter Palace is also 6, personal mission is 9, romance friendship is 5, combat AI is 6, and party banter is 6. So here we are with him. That is, let me see, that total is, I have it way down here. That gives him a total of 46. All right, so the second character I'm going to talk about is Cassandra Pentagast. She is a warrior. She's a warrior. And she is also she's the right hand of the divine. So she's rubbing elbows with Justinia before Justinia was murdered. So really, recruitment. There is no recruitment. She's just there. She's one of your first 3 companions. You don't have to do anything to get her. There's not really, I mean, she's your tutorial campaign, but then so are also our Ferric and Solas. She gives us a tiny bit of explanation, so she is necessary. But I don't really consider it a recruitment. but she is valuable. So I gave her a 6 for recruitment. Skyhold. We see her go through so much at Skyhold. We see character growth. We see her having trouble adjusting to some things. Like when she finds out that Hawk is alive and everything, and she's like, oh, we should have had, you know, but she adjusts. She's the one who wants you to become the Inquisitor. And there's a lot of good there's some really stuffy conversation, but there's good conversation in between the stuffy bits. So it's definitely worth going over to that part of Skyhold and talking to her. And you can ask her for advice too. And some of the advice is stupid and mean, and some of it is super useful. So for Skyhold, I gave her an 8. Winter Palace, I feel like really she's just the female version of Blackwell when it comes to the Winter Palace, which is hilarious because they're both warriors. Really the main difference to me is that she backs Gaspard. She's kind of condescending about the grand game, which, yeah, the grand game is a pain in the ass, but guess what? You're in Orlais, you gotta deal with it. Suck it up, Buttercup. Even Sarah acknowledges the need for the game, kind of, sort of. I mean, hers is funny, but still. So I gave Cassandra a 5 for the Winter Palace. Her personal stuff. So she is a possibility to be the next Divine. Okay. She goes through a lot of loss with the Seekers. With Lord Seeker Lucius and all that. Acknowledged. I feel like really her backstory and her personal stuff is so close but not quite there. Like close but no cigar. And there's really just, it's very uninteresting for somebody who should have been one of the most interesting characters in the entire game. So I gave her a 6 for that. Now this is where it gets interesting for me. Romance, friendship. I always play as female characters. So obviously Cassandra only romances men, so she's never been available to me as a romance. But I wanted to look into her because I know that she likes romance novels and everything like that. You can even get a little blip with her at the end of the game. So I watched some videos and I did some research, and she is such a romantic. She's such a romantic. She loves flowers and poetry and all that. And she wants to be swept off her feet and everything. And so like the romance is good. And I like that she's very honest about how she is with you when she first meets you. And she acknowledges, you know, that she's done them wrong. And she says she's going to do better and everything like that. And really, honestly, like that's such a cool part of her personality that they didn't have to put in, especially since they didn't really do any of the rest of her super well. So for romance, friendship, I gave her an 8. Default combat AI. She, to me, is super reliable. She's super reliable. You get her straight out the gate. She's super reliable. She's easy to level up. You can level her up different ways and she'll still handle combat basically the same way. I've never had to tweak anything for her behavior. Like I've never had to say, oh, do this, you know, when attacked, or do, like, I can just leave her be. And I would say out of all of the companions, she's probably the easiest one to level up and just let loose. So for default combat AI, I gave her a 9. For party banter, so, and I have to read this the way I type into it because I feel like that's really an accurate read on her. And I typed one sentence and it was, bless her heart, you can tell she's trying. She talks to characters, she asks them questions, like she's trying to not be Judgy McJudgerton. So I give her a 7 for that. So we have Recruitment 6, Skyhold 8, Winter Palace 5, Personal Mission 6, Romance Friendship 8, Default Combat AI 9, and Party Banter 7. Not so bad. Ooh, okay. Sorry that I moved and I'm sitting in probably a different spot. I had to get another drink. I ordered Taco Bell. Ooh. Yeah, anyway. I digress. So the next character we're going to talk about is Cole. Cole fascinates me. I don't know. I didn't really do research on who wrote who, but I would love to sit down with whoever wrote Cole and just ask them a million questions, because I have so many questions and I love Cole so much. But this rating system is not going to play out for him the way that I thought it would. He's one of the people that at the end of all this I was like, whoa, okay. Cole is a rogue. He's a double dagger rogue, a dual wielding rogue, whatever. And we're gonna go right into it. So Cole's recruitment fascinates me because his recruitment and Dorian's recruitment kind of mirror each other. So if you go recruit the Templars, Cole is kind of like your main guy, and then Dorian shows up to warn you that the mages are coming. Mages are coming. And then if you go for the mages, Dorian is your main guy, and then Cole shows up at the gates and like guts a bunch of people and then warns you that the Templars are coming with Samson. Either way, he is part of the main storyline, and he's not really forced on you. So like, and I don't want to say Cassandra's not forced on you, but like, there's an interesting bit leading up to him, and you don't have to recruit him, but he is at Skyhold and you walk right into it. So for his recruitment, I give him an 8. Skyhold. For how fascinating a character he is, his existence in Skyhold is relatively lackluster, and this was one of the scores out of all of the characters. They gave me the most trouble, and I love that he does odd things for good reason, but in like his actual conversations are good, but everything that happens between the conversations we find out from other people. And I understand, like, you know, they're trying to emphasize he, you know, does stuff and people don't remember him, but like, it seemed like the easy way out. So he only got a 6 for Skyhold for me. Winter Palace. I'm gonna catch flack for this. I'm gonna catch flack for him. Out of the 3 rogues, he is the least worth bringing to the Winter Palace. He doesn't get introduced with everybody else because everyone forgets him. You can run into him in the library for a little bit, and there's some dialogue there that's almost interesting. And he does have an interesting line about the masks while he's there, but you can get really that same attitude towards the masks from a conversation that you have with him when you come back to Skyhold. So really, he on the Winter Palace for me, like, to me, he's one of the least interesting. Let me pull it up, actually. Let me pull up the list of Skyhold. Yeah, like, he's on the lower end of the spectrum for the Winter Palace, which is really just a shame because he's such a good character. Like, he's a really good character. Don't get me wrong. When I say he's not worth bringing, it's not like he's not worth bringing. It's just you can get much more interesting stuff out of the other rogues. Sorry. So yeah, he gets 6 for the Winter Palace. I'm gonna catch flag for this one too. Personal mission. Okay. Cole is a complex character. I acknowledge that. He's a complex character. He's gonna have I hurt my hand. I literally hurt my hand screwing on this cap. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish primer that I'm using. Literally hurt my hand right here. Putting the lid back on. Welcome to being almost 40. Anyway, So his personal stuff is almost too complicated. Like, I feel like they sat down and I said, hey, you know, Cole's a really complicated character. You know, we gotta make it so that you really have to think about what you're doing and everything like that. And it's so much. He's too complicated. He's just too complicated for me. He's a great character. I still do his personal stuff every time. I would never not do it. But it's just he just falls. And then also too, so like I don't mind looking up guides and stuff like that, but I hate when I have to like hang out in a guide to make sure that I don't fuck everything up. And he is so easy to it's too complicated. It's interesting though, so I gave him a 7. Friendship. So he is not available as a romance. Although there is a very specific circumstance in which he winds up married in, but that's one of those things where it's like you have to do it a certain way if you want that outcome. It's not really organic to me. So I gave him a 7 for that also. Default combat AI. Cole is he's pretty easy. You can level him up really a number of different ways. So it's not like there's only one way to do his, and he is consistent across all the different ways that you can level him up. And he's super easy. Level him up and, you know, let him fly and be free. And so for that, he got an 8. The last category is party banter. Party banter. Cole not only got the highest score out of party banter, he also got the entire 10 out of all of this, because I gave him a 10 for party banter. It's interesting going back on a second and third play and listening to him say things that, you know, because you know how the character ends up, you know, like, oh my god, he's talking about this, oh my god, he's talking about this. And he has a lot of he elicits interesting responses from the other characters. So his party banter makes other party banter more interesting as well. So really between all of that, that's why he got a 10 for that. So he has an 8 for recruitment, a 6 for Skyhold. Winter Palace, he got 6. Personal mission, he got a 7. Friendship, he got a 7. Default combat AI, he got an 8. And party banter, he knocked it out of the park with 10. Okay, so the next character is Dorian. Dorian is a mage. And it's interesting that he's back to back with Cole, because like I said when I did Cole's section previously, Dorian and Cole basically have mirror recruitments. And so if you go to recruit the mages, Dorian is the one who wants to be there, and he's the one who walks through it with you. And then obviously on the flip side, you can recruit him. He's ridiculously funny, I think, considering that the mage questline recruitment part is like time travel, and there's time traveling jokes, and there's self-deprecating humor, and it's really just kind of like right up my alley. And he is of one of the funnier conversations when he wants to join. Again, self-deprecating humor, but also, you know, making funny observations about other people involved. So I gave his recruitment a 9. Skyhold. Okay. So I think Dorian's physical placement within Skyhold is perfect. I definitely see him hanging out in the library and just reading, and he can eavesdrop where he is. He's easy to find. Like first time playing, if you have no idea where he is, you will accidentally stumble across him. There's no way to miss him. So I think that was very good. His conversations, so some of the characters have more conversation at Skyhold than he does, and I feel like his kind of wraps up almost too soon. Like, I feel like he should have more to say, especially at the beginning. So that always kind of frustrated me. So I gave him an 8 for Skyhold. The Winter Palace. I'm really conflicted on the Winter Palace. So I love that he tells you the stories about, you know, going to balls back into Banter and everything, and then the funny story about his mom dragging him out by his ear and stuff like that. He also is very, through his humor, there's definitely some awareness, and I think where he is, he's outside in the courtyard, he's away from people, because obviously, I mean, the Orlesians play the grand game, but they're making it very obvious that they're not happy that he's there. Like, he's really definitely not welcome there, for lack of putting it any differently. He has a funny line complaining about too much lavender perfume. And he has a couple of funny one-liners as you go through and as you find, you know, the blackmail for the 3 main players. So I give him an 8 for that. Personal mission. Please don't be mad at me. I think Dorian's personal mission is his weakness in this game. It pops up very, very early. I do this weird thing with my mouth when I do my eyes, so I'm covering my mouth with a mirror. I don't know. I feel like it pops up super, super early. It's fully resolved when you resolve it. Like, that's it. You do something, it's over. He's loyal. Like, that's it. That's the extent of it. It's not anything super exciting. It's an interesting play on, as he talks about, like, the standards into Banter and how he doesn't play into them and everything like that. But it's kind of anticlimactic. I don't know. Maybe because I have parental issues, I'm kind of like, eh. So I gave him a 6 for his personal mission. Please don't be mad. The next category is romance/friendship. Now, like I mentioned, I can't remember if I mentioned it, but I write fanfic for a couple of fandoms, and Dragon Age is one of them. He is one of the easier friendships to write. It's more organic. I feel like he has the fewest restrictions placed on his friendship. The romance is super sweet. I love the sending crystal. Of course, he gives you the sending crystal even if you're friends. So, I just really like his friendship, and the romance is so sweet. Like, I just want him to be happy. So I gave him a 9 for romance friendship. Default combat AI, not as great as it could be. He's pretty well rounded and balanced for a mage. He's pretty balanced, but especially at higher levels and when you start fighting dragons and stuff like that, you do have to go into his controls and tweak him, what he does a little bit. He'll go through health potions relatively quickly. So if Dorian is a character that you want to bring with you more, I recommend getting the belt upgrade so that you can take 12 potions with you and adjust his AI to take them at a lower health percentage, because I think he takes them at like 30% right now, 30 or 35, and you need to knock it down to like a 25, because he'll blow through, especially on the harder dragon fights, like in I'm brain farting on the name of the map, but there's a map that has 3 dragons, and one of those 3 dragons is one of the hardest dragons in the game, and he'll blow through your potions and still die early. So really, his AI is not that great, but he is reliable as far as the actual combat itself. So I gave him an 8 for it. It's probably too high, but I'm gonna stick with an 8. Party banter. her party banter is interesting. I feel like Dorian is genuinely trying to be better than everyone expects him to be as being from Banter. He knows that he and his people have a bad rap, and he's genuinely working towards rectifying that. He will ask sometimes smart-ass questions, but he does ask the other companions questions to get to know them better. I love his observations on your relationship, if you have one with somebody else besides him. So I think it's kind of like Cassandra, where he's really trying to at least understanding people, but he does it better than Cass does. So I gave him a 9. So, and add up the scores. So recruitment is a 9. Skyhold is 8. Winter Palace is also 8. Personal mission is 6. Romance / friendship is 9. Default combat AI is 8. And party banter is also a 9. Okay. We ready? Oh my goodness. So the next character that we're going to talk about is the Iron Bull. And it is the Iron Bull. He likes the article in front of it because it makes him sound like a weapon or something. For the rest of the video and in all the graphics, I'm going to be referring to him just as Bull because it's easier. I'm lazy. Sorry. So his recruitment. You can actually miss his recruitment if you don't pay any attention to Krem. Because he sends like his second in command to invite you to go meet him. So you don't even meet him first, you meet Krem first. And when you reach where he is, when you go to the Storm Coast to where the whole the mercenary band is, you have to help them in a fight before he'll talk to you. Instead of going from point A to point B like some of the other companions, his is relatively interesting, so I give him an 8. Not a lot to talk about. Skyhold. Okay, so I don't know if this is gonna make sense. I don't know if I'm gonna explain this correctly. I think other fans of his character this will make sense too, but people who aren't necessarily his fans, or maybe they romance with people, aren't gonna quite understand why I rated him the way that I did, but I'm gonna try. I think his placement in Skyhold is brilliant. I think that out of all of the characters, when developers were trying to figure out where they were going to put him, I think the choice of where they put Bull was brilliant. He is in the Herald's Rest, so he's in a tavern, and he's just kind of hanging out, and he's not only is he sitting down, but he's chilling. Like he's in the Herald's Rest, and he's chilling, and he's hanging out with his guys, and even Krem is sitting upright. Like he's sitting on a table, but he's sitting upright. And I don't know how familiar some of you are with Kuhn. Kuhn is, if you are expecting Bull to be anything like the Kunari in Dragon Age 2, or even like Sten, Iron Bull takes that and flips it on the ass. He does a lot of things, and he even says he does a lot of things that aren't necessarily approved under the Kuhn. And even Gat will say like, hey, I don't remember exactly how he says it, but he basically implies that he's been slipping. And he's been doing a lot of stuff that he's really not supposed to be doing, but like he's undercover, so he's allowed to do it. So I feel like they used that placement to really drive home how he really hasn't been a good Kunari in a while. Like they've had him acting as a Talvashov, and when he does become Talvashov, it's nothing changes. He's the same person. His conversations are okay. They end a little bit sooner than I would like. So he and Dorian both kind of have shorter conversations where you have other characters that there's more to talk about. And I absolutely love the scene with the stick after Adamant where he has Cassandra hitting him with the stick. And he takes the little clip and he's like, oh, you know, and she clobbers him real hard. Yeah. So for Skyhold, I give him an 8. Probably could have given him higher, but I'm gonna stick with an 8. Winter Palace. If you have ever been someone who's been kind of an outcast and people pick on you because they think that you can't tell that they're picking on you, so basically like all of middle school for me, you will understand what he's talking about at the Winter Palace. He talks about how the nobles are making fun of him and they think that he doesn't know, because stereotypes, racial stereotypes, I guess. And he has a lot of interesting feedback on stuff as you like go through the battles and everything like that. And he, even if you do the Winter Palace after his personal mission and you choose the Chargers in his personal mission, he still will give you Ben Haswick reads on things. So like he's, you know, he reads on a couple where like the guy is banging two servants and she's sleeping with somebody else, and he talks about how the masks don't hide body language, but as far as style, he's seen stuff that's like a lot dumber. And if you are romancing him and you ask for a dance, his initial response is hilarious because he thinks that you're doing it as a joke, so they're gonna offend all of the nobles, and then Josie's gonna have a heart attack. And then he realizes you're serious. He's like, oh yeah, totally, yeah. And I was like, yeah. So I give him an 8 for Winter Palace. Personal mission. Oh my god. Massive spoiler. If you have not played Trespasser, stop watching this right now. Like, stop. So I think the mission itself was great. I love that he's in a position where his faith, or I mean whatever you want to consider the Qun, is challenged. And you have what the Qun wants him to do, and then you have what he's been living with the whole time, and then you have to make that decision for him, and it devastates him if you pick the Chargers to die. But it seems like it's okay. He's like, okay, you know, he ain't loyal or whatever. He's your friend. You can continue to romance him regardless of which choice. You can romance him if you save the Dreadnought. You can romance him if you save the Chargers. Problem though. If you choose to sacrifice the Chargers, or if you don't do his mission at all, you will have to kill him in Trespasser. Even if you don't take him on that particular mission, he will literally run in through a side door and be like, hey, it was smart for you to not bring me on this, and then you have to kill him. And I hate that you're given what's essentially a loyalty mission, and we've been trained at this point through the other Dragon Age games, through Mass Effect. If you do the loyalty mission and then you romance the person, they're fine, right? No. And this is a hell of a curveball, and most people have done a lot and they do Trespasser at the end. So you've gone through all of this, and then you have this sudden like of having to kill him and Trespasser, and I hate it. So I gave him a 7 for that, because the actual story is great, and then the actual mission is great. I like the combat. I like the actual story of the story. So he gets a 7 for that. This one is tricky. So it's the romance, friendship, and the problem that I run into with trying to be fair about all of these is the only 2 romances I've ever done are Bull and Cullen. And of course, Cullen's not a companion, so I can't even like rate him compared to anything. So again, like I said, it annoys me that romancing him doesn't save in trespassers. He can go through this whole romance and get like super into the tooth and everything and be like, and then you gotta kill him. And I hate that. Like, I feel sorry for anyone who didn't know going into that and they decided they were gonna try to save the dreadnought and then they went up, I can't even. I guess I understand it. I mean, that's the only, out of all of the characters, that's the only one that you're going to be able to pull that off with. I think also he, as a friend, is really good about, I don't want to say pumping you up, but like letting you know that you're doing good and everything like that. And he, obviously there's a lot of conversation about consent if you romance him, because, you know, daddy bull. And then if neither he nor Dorian is romance, they wind up together, and that's a really cute relationship too. So I give friendship and romance, because I've done friendship and romance with him, and he gets a solid 8 for that. Default combat AI, he doesn't do as good at higher levels. I do this thing with games where I will play them for like 30 hours and then I get bored and I pick something else up. So I haven't had a lot of Dragon Age Inquisition playthroughs where I get to a super high level where I have to worry about babysitting him. But at the higher levels, you do have to babysit him. Again, kind of like with Dorian, when it comes to the levels where you're starting to like fight dragons and stuff like that, which by the way, I love his enthusiasm for fighting dragons, but he does have to be tweaked a little bit and monitored a lot more than some of the other ones. So I give him a 7 for that. Party Banter. He makes a lot of puns, like a lot of puns. Like, anyone got a hand? And he thinks it's the funniest thing ever. And because he thinks it's the funniest thing ever, it is the funniest thing ever. He talks about like boobs with Sarah. He talks about all kinds of things. He'll talk to Cole and like be weirded out by Cole, but like you can tell he's like trying to not be so about it. He's very inquisitive with the other members. I love that he calls Vivienne ma'am. He tries to call her Viv, and she reads in the riot act, and he's like, oh, and he calls her ma'am for the rest of the game. And I love that so much. So Bull's scores, if you're playing along at home, Recruitment is 8. Skyhold is also 8. Winter Palace is also 8. Personal Mission is 7. Romance/friendship is 8. Combat AI is 7. And Party Banter is 8. I really hope you weren't here expecting good makeup, because I don't do good makeup here. If you want good makeup, go watch Bailey. I have never done good eyebrows a day in my life, and I doubt that I'm gonna start anytime soon. So, black eyeshadow it is. Anyway, next character. Who's the next character? Ooh, Sarah's the next character. Sarah is a bow and arrow rogue, archery rogue, whatever. And she is an elf. And her recruitment is kind of, I would say it's fun and whimsical. Like, it's definitely what I would, like, knowing how she is, it's definitely not a surprise that that's what her recruitment is. So you go to Valrio, get yelled at by Lord Secret Lucius, and as you're leaving, an arrow hits really close to you and it's got a note, and you gotta look for these other things, and you figure out where to go find Sarah. You wind up in an alley with some guy who thinks that you're there for him, and you're like, who the fuck is this guy? Nobody told me about this guy. He gets an arrow to the face, blah blah blah, too many breaches. And it's fun and whimsical and different. It's not like any recruitment, anything I've done, even in other games. So I'm gonna give her an 8 for that. Skyhold. So the first time I noticed this, it upset me, but in subsequent playthroughs, it makes sense for her character. If you recruit Sarah while Haven is still standing, but you don't talk to her at Haven, if you don't talk to her until Skyhold, but you recruited her at Haven, you get disapproval points. She literally is like, why didn't you come talk to me? And that's kind of who Sarah is as a character. My first playthrough, Sarah annoyed the living piss out of me. I thought she was annoying and childish, and now that I've talked to her more and I've researched her, she is childish, but I understand why she's childish. That being said, her room at Skyhold is super, super fun. It's got like, it reminds me, there's an area at work that it reminds me of. It's got like brightly colored pillows and there's books and everything, and it's the most, I think it's the most interesting space visually. Where's my hand sanitizer? I know I have hand sanitizer, is that it? No. It's my light up bunny. I guess I don't have hand sanitizer. But it's the most visually appealing. It matches her personality really well, I think. Her conversations are good. They're a little wacky, and there's a good degree of conversation that I feel like if I was actually having it with somebody in real life, I would kind of be like, yeah, sure. So she gets an 8 for Skyhold. Winter Palace. So, Winter Palace. Sarah at the Winter Palace. Sarah actually would have done really, really super well in this category if it weren't for the cringiest line in a BioWare game since Ashley's line about not being able to tell the aliens from the animals. I'm not going to repeat it. There's debate as to whether it is as transphobic as a lot of people say it is, or if there is a cultural, like an Orlesian culture or something behind it. I'm not going to say it. If you know what it is, great. If you don't know what it is, look it up. I refuse to say it. I think if it was going to be an Orlesian culture thing, it could have been phrased differently. It didn't even need to be said. She could have said a plethora of other things. I do love that there's a lot of Red Jenny stuff going on if you bring her. She has probably the most detailed feedback on Gaspard versus Celine versus Briella. And she has a line where she calls the whole thing a pissing contest. She understands it's necessary in Orlais, but it's still a pissing contest. So with all of that combined, I went ahead and I gave her a 7. Like I said, she would have done much better. She probably would have gotten the best score in this category if it weren't for that shitty line. 7. Personal mission. So the boundaries of personal mission, I blurred a little bit for her because her legit, straightforward personal mission is the Verschiel? Is that how you say it, Verschiel? The Verschiel March. And then there's the Noble at the end of it and everything like that. To me, it's super anticlimactic, but I also like that she has the quest where she wants you to prank with her, but and this surprised me, she shows a boundary when you're doing the pranks with her. Like, they dump paint and all and everything like that, but you go to prank Liliana with her, and when you're pranking, you can suggest different things to do, and there's a locked case, and if you point it out to Sarah, she like does like a 180 personality wise, and she's like, no, I don't fuck with locked boxes because they're locked for a reason. It's one thing to throw a pie at somebody, but that's somebody's deep personal, and I was kind of impressed by that. I was like, hey, Sarah actually has boundaries. Who knew? So she got a 7 for that. Romance/friendship. Oh my god. Please don't be mad at me for this. Her romance is incredibly toxic. Incredibly toxic. Especially if you are an elf. She's one of the few, I think she's the only romance option that treats you differently based on what race you are. She fetishizes Kunari. Humans are and she's mean to elves. She's a little bit unnecessarily harsh to elves. She will at one point try to get a Dalish Inquisitor to abandon Dalish gods, and if you do not, she breaks up with you. Like, hey, you know this whole faith system that you've grown up with your entire life? It's me or it. What the fuck? I understand that her childhood was rough. She's an orphan, and she got taken in by that woman, and then she has the rude awakening that the woman was probably just doing it to feel good about herself, not actually to help Sarah, cookies and all that. And at one point she says something, and I forget the exact wording of the line. It was a video that I was watching, and I was appalled. She basically says, and I'm gonna botch this, she says something to the extent that her and the Inquisitor need more time between fucking and fighting. And if that is not a Harley Quinn level red flag, I don't know what is. Like, what the fuck? She does get a small boost. She is absolutely giddy when she finds out that the Inquisitor has told everybody that they're a couple. The friendship is just fine. I think the friendship is just fine, but that romance is so gross. So she got a 6 for this category. She got a 6. Default combat AI. You have to monitor her a little bit when you start making grenades and bombs for everybody. I do like that you get the jar of bees from her. That's one of her little personal things. You get the jar of bees, and the jar of bees is really useful. With dragons, give everybody the maximum a number of bees grenades and just all lob them at different parts of the dragon at once, and it will actually wear down a significant amount of the guard or whatever. Otherwise she runs pretty efficiently, so I'm going to give her an 8 for that. Party banter. So this is another thing where I have to keep in mind what she's been through, yada yada yada. A lot of things that she says though are super childish and immature, and I'm not gonna say she's mean, but she's mean enough that I'm like, dude, I don't like, it's a reason, not an excuse. So she's really mean about elves. She's super mean to Solas. Cause he's an elf. I mean, he's a dick anyways, we find out later, but like, she is only mean to him because he's an elf. She's not a huge fan of mages. But like, she's meaner to him than Dorian because he's an elf and Dorian's human. She does make a couple of jokes at Dorian's expense that Dorian rolls with, but that's just because who Dorian is as a person. I love how she interacts with Iron Bull. Like, I really love how she interacts with Iron Bull a lot. Like, those two are thick as thieves, talking about boobs and stuff. Like, and there's a couple of other. I'm sure she's kind of cool with Ferric. Like, doesn't really like Cole, but then again, I think Solas is the only one who really likes Cole. Although Dorian at least tries to understand Cole, but really, when it comes, so Vivienne is really mean to her, and she's really nasty back to Vivienne, but it's still, the way that she reacts to Vivienne is like, oh my god, she's mean. Like, it's a little childish. So reluctantly I'll give her a 7 for that. I don't know how I'm happy with that, but I don't want to go higher or lower, so we'll go with the 7. So this is Recruitment 8. Skyhold is also 8. Ooh, eyeliner. Winter Palace is 7. Personal Mission is 7. Romance / friendship is 6. Combat AI is 8, and Party Banter is 7. Only got a couple more left. I'm trying to fix, I put way too much blush on. I'm trying to fix it. Oh, and it's better. It was like pink. It was like clown circle pink. Oh, whatever. Anyway. So if you've been keeping track of the characters, we just talked about Sarah, so you know what we're going to talk about next. There's a couple of things that I want to address before I go into talking about Solas. Okay, I want to preface this with the fact that I do not like Solas. I've never liked Solas. And if you do like Solas, you're not going to like a lot of what I'm going to say. I will say that I tried to be as fair as possible judging him. I think some of these scores will surprise you. And also, there's a whole lot of spoilers in this section, so if you have not finished the game and haven't played Trespasser, play it and come back and watch this another day. Anyway, that being said, let's just jump right into it. Why not? As far as his recruitment is concerned, he's just like Cassandra in the fact that he's not actually recruited. He's automatically added to your party. He is part of the combat tutorial, but there's no really anything that makes it any more interesting than what you have to do, because he is what you have to do. So 6 for that. Skyhold. Skyhold. Have y'all ever gone in his room and really looked at the stuff that he paints? And I don't mean like at first talk to him for a little bit and then leave it alone for the rest of the game. I mean keep going back and talking to him. And as the conversation changes, he'll add more to the paintings. And there's a whole lot of stuff that shouldn't be surprising after you look at what he painted. Like, that should not at all. What happens at the end of the game and then Trespasser should not at all surprise you if you're paying attention to what he's painting. Oh, so I actually do really enjoy the little fade walk that he takes you on. Before you wake up, there's a little there's a face that he makes that it is just it's like, is that the real Solas peeking through? Is that it? Maybe it is. Maybe I'm just looking for it. But pay attention to that look. So Skyhold, we'll give him an 8. We'll give him an 8 for that. Winter Palace. So if you know anything about me at all from my Facebook posts, if you know me personally, I love shade. I love throwing shade. I love when other people throw shade. I just love shade, especially if it's well done. And I will say that Solas's approach to the Winter Palace is like peak shade. Like clap, 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 sir. Like peak shade. Well done, peak shade. So when the game came out, a lot of people talked about the stupid hat that he wears. And everyone was like, oh, this hat's so ugly. Why does he wear this ugly ass hat? And I don't have a concrete reason for that. But there is a fan theory that I think stands up. And that is this person found a similar looking hat in the game files. Or I guess they got it at some point in the game, they found it. And the hat that they found is called the Helm of Draska. Now the Draska was a group that, you know, fought against Banter, rebelled against the Orlesians, and Solas walks into this ball. First of all, he gets introduced as the Inquisitor's manservant. And the reason he does that is because he's an elf, and that's what everyone is expecting him to be. Because it's Orlais, and they're all racist sons of bitches. So, because he is an elf, he must be some sort of servant. And he goes with it. Because if people are assuming he's a servant, they're not paying attention to what he's doing, they're not noticing that he's an apostate, they're not doing any of that. So he walks in with this hat, like this, to everyone around him. And I love that. I knew it had to be something. I was like, they're not going to put this hat on only him without it being something important. So I don't know if it's definitely the Helm of Draska. But it holds up to me. Literally the only difference is that his hat is modified a little bit so that his ears show. He walks in with this fuck you, and it's hilarious, and he's probably the only one in on the joke. He's doing it just for the knowledge of the massive fuck you, and I love it so much. And we also find out that he likes watching the game because as the manservant, he's not playing it. So he literally gets to stand by. Servants don't know if they're supposed to, you know, fill his cup or whatever. He's enjoying the food. He's loved watching the intrigue. And it's kind of not really the Solas that I'm used to from the rest of the game. So I, without question, gave him a 9 for the Winter Palace. Like, clap, 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 sir. Awesome. Personal mission and story. Okay, so this is really complicated. This is really complicated. How much of the main story do we consider to be his personal stuff? Because let's find out where the orb came from. Thanks, Solas. That was so great of you to do that. It was awesome. Thanks for this entire fucking shit show of a game. Cause yeah. I do probably include more as his personal stuff. Like, I think I pushed that line a little bit further for him than with other people. He obviously has the specific quest with the Spirit of Wisdom that gets turned into the Pride Demon, and there's something in that explosive anger. And this goes back to him being a well-written character. Like, this explosion of anger that he has, this is like decades and decades and decades and centuries of anger that has just been piling up and piling up and piling up, and he's fucking done. He's done. He's just fucking done. And so when he like explodes and leaves, the first time I got to that, I was like, dude, chill out. But then knowing what I know about like what he's been through and everything like that, and then you take in consideration how most people treat elves in this universe, I'd be pissed too. I would totally be pissed too. No. Fuck everyone anywhere who's ever led to the system, just everything that the elves have been through, like ever, at all. I can't fault him for being angry. And I think that's I don't like using the word human because he's not human, but I think considering who he winds up being, it's still a very human, normal, emotional response. I don't know if it's worth, him allowing the entire sky to get ripped open, but I think if we're just going for a baseline story, and how interesting it is and how it all plays into everything, I'm gonna give him an 8 for that, even though I'm still mad at him for it. We'll give him an 8. Romance/friendship. Why the fuck are so many of you so gaga over this guy? I try. So I talk to friends who are Solas Mancers. Like, I did research and everything like that, and I personally don't understand it. Plus, as we visited with Blackwell, really the whole relationship with Solas is based on lies. The friendship, well, I'm not gonna say the friendship with him is based on, but there's just a whole lot of deceit there, and it's like, who was I actually talking to this entire time? Like, who were you actually romancing this entire time? And I one thing I will say is that, from the friendship perspective, is they could have gone very black and white with the ending of Trespasser, and they could have him be one very specific way with you, but I do like that if you try, like, if you talk to him and everything like that, The end result is still the same, but he's slightly less of a dick about it. I don't know. I don't like him. I don't like the friendship. He's a big old liar. It's all based on a lie. I gave him a 4. I don't. And again, he's a well-written character. Like, he's very well written to elicit that response in me or in anybody else. He gets a 4. I'm sorry, he gets a 4. Hard 4. Non-negotiable. I actually talked myself up from giving him less than that because I thought less than that was a little harsh. 4. Default combat AI. So, I feel like he's a little clunky in the tutorial. Because obviously he doesn't have a lot of skills. He doesn't have a lot of skills yet, just like the Inquisitor doesn't have a whole lot of skills yet. But when you level him up, he's quite efficient. And I think as long as you give him points in that spirit line of skills, you can give him skills and then leave him alone. Party banter. So, I'm going to say something nice about him. I get the distinct feeling that he actually is genuinely interested in the other party members. He asks good questions. Even Sarah, he asks good questions. I don't know that he necessarily wants to know them, but he's inquisitive as a person. He loves to learn about other people, other things. He hangs out with spirits in the Fade to learn. And I think, like I said, he asks very good questions of the companions, the other companions. It's going very pink, isn't it? No, keep it pink. All right, let me look at my good here. But yeah, so long story short, yeah, I think his party banter is actually, it's not the best. But I enjoy it enough to take him with me before some of the others. So I'm going to give him a 7 for party banter. So this was a convoluted section, but as a review, so Recruitment, I gave him a 6. Skyhold, I gave him an 8. Winter Palace, he got a 9. Personal Mission, he got an 8. Romance and Friendship, he got a 4. Default Combat AI, he got an 8. And then again, Party Banter, he got a 7. So he is not the bottom of the pack. I know the way I talk about him, it sounds like he came in last. He did not come in last. So, 2 more. Okay, so next is Ferric. And I do want to point out with Ferric that even though he's a returning character from Dragon Age 2, this rating is specifically only based on what happens in Dragon Age Inquisition. I did not keep anything in mind from 2. I literally just went on the exact same categories as the other characters. So, jump right into it. Recruitment, again, he's an automatic companion. There is no recruitment, so he gets a 6. Skyhold. I feel like his placement is really awkward, like his physical placement. Like he's a famous author, and he's just gonna hang out in the main hall with a bunch of strangers in front of a part. I don't know. I don't know where I would have put him, but that just seems. I would like to know whose idea it was to put him there and what their reasoning is, because there's probably a very good reason that I'm just not thinking of. But I don't know why he would be put there. Like, I don't know why he wouldn't be put. I'm trying to think where there's anybody, where there's any room where there's not other people. Like, I could see him being in the Herald's Rest with the others. I mean, if Cole is going to be in the Herald's Rest, why wouldn't Ferric be? Especially since there's even a notice saying, there's an archery contest and Ferric can't enter. Like, these people are very obviously aware of Ferric, and he's just he's in the same spot as his beginning spot. I guess technically Dorian is too, but Dorian's in it better suited for, I don't know. I don't like it. I gave him a 7. The dialogue is good, and I love the card game. I love the card game. Winter Palace. So this is gonna sound really shitty. I think I was grumpy by the time I got to this part in the rating. I feel like his everything at the Winter Palace is lackluster. Like, he doesn't really have great insight. I mean, it's interesting to talk to him, but it's not, especially since it costs, I don't remember how much, but like, you have to use at least one Hala statue to get to him, when you could be using that to, especially if you want to reconcile Selene and Briella, there's better uses for that Hala statue. And I just feel like I might like his placement better if it didn't cost a Hala statue, but like, I remember finding that out and I was super upset, and I actually reloaded the Winter Palace and took Sarah. Did I take Sarah? Yeah, I took Sarah instead. Like, or I might have brought him again, but just not gone and talked. I don't know. I gave him a 6. Personal mission. I want to like it more. His personal thing. I want to like it more. It's not super exciting. And it also makes me super mad that Briella threatens you and is like, don't, keep him safe. Like, she didn't just fucking endanger him herself. But she's gonna yell at me and I don't have a snarky response after, because there's a lot of snarky responses like everywhere else, but there's no snarky comeback to Bianca threatening you. Bitch. 6. All right, friendship. So Ferric's pretty great. I mean, anyone who's played this game knows that Ferric's pretty great. But if you look at stuff that he approves of and disapproves of, he kind of supports the Inquisitor doing his or her own thing. Like, he really just he doesn't really disapprove of a lot of stuff that the Inquisitor can do. Normally, whatever the Inquisitor does, you get a small amount of approval from him. Whatever you think is best for the Inquisition, he's just kind of like, sure, cool, let's do it. And I really like the fact that he appreciates realness and transparency, and he even has his own little bit in Cole's mission, and actually has some pretty valid wisdom in Cole's mission. So I give him an 8 for friendship. His default combat AI, there's not really anything to comment. He's just good. Love, give him skills, leave him be. He's good, he's reliable. 9. Party banter. He has a lot of good insight on NPCs. There's a couple of times where you can recruit him into a conversation where he can sway the person that isn't also involved in the conversation. He has a lot of good conversation with other companions, regardless of how they react to it. And he has a lot of good insight on missions, so I gave him an 8. I didn't make him sound very interesting with this section of the video. But Recruitment 6, Skyhold 7, Winter Palace 6, Personal Mission 6, Friendship 8, Default Combat AI 9, and Party Banter 8. Yay, Ferric. Okay, we have one left. It's Vivienne. Vivienne is a mage. I hate putting on lipstick on video. God, why did I not just do that? Whatever. So I'm just gonna jump right in with Vivienne. I love her recruitment. She sends, so like Iron Bull, she sends someone with the invitation, but it's like, it's a messenger and like you get invited to a party. you walk in and people are talking to you and some guy insults you and Vivienne is dead ass willing to kill this guy on the spot that insults you for insulting you. Like, you ultimately get the choice, but she's literally willing to kill a man for insulting him. And if she doesn't kill him, she has like the best shade, something about like wearing his great aunt's doublet or something. I don't know. It's hilarious. And that's even before we talked to her about joining. Like, you can still say no to her after this. So I give her a 9 for that, because I remember the first time I played through that part, I was like, oh my god, this bitch is crazy and I love her. Skyhold. Okay, so I hate where they put Vivienne. I'm sure there's technically a reason, like she can see everything from where she is. I don't know. I feel like she would insist on being somewhere nicer. Like her own room or something. I don't know. It's just weird to me. The only thing I can think of is that she likes being able to see everything from where she is. That's probably why. I don't know. 7. Winter Palace. So, remember how I said I usually only take one other mage, one rogue, and one warrior because I play mage? Well, I've never taken Vivienne. I've never taken her. I've thought about taking her, but I've never taken her. And in researching for this video, I watched some footage of her at the Winter Palace. She is the only companion who knows about Morrigan. Liliana tells you about her, but Vivienne says something about the apostate, pet apostate, something like that. And she's wary of Florian. Like, so much so that she warns you. She's like, oh, be careful, Gaspard's sister. I don't know what's going on, but something's up. She warns you before you can even comment on it. And she's, you know, she's Vivienne. So when you first walk up to her, she's like, oh, I thought you were going to embarrass yourself. Good job on not embarrassing yourself. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Vivienne. Love it. And she also is very concerned about Cole, but she's always concerned about Cole. But she comments on how his behavior is out of character for him. Like she fucking, I don't know, whatever. 8 for Winter Palace. Personal mission. Okay, so I love references in video games. I love it. I absolutely love references in video games. And obviously her personal mission, part of it is titled Bring Me the Heart of Snow White. And she wants the heart of Snowy Wyvern, blah, 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 like that. So I do love that reference, especially with, she has kind of like this Disney villain thing going on. Like she has the hat that's kind of like Maleficent, and she's got the very, like the posture of like, you know, the evil queen or whatever. And she's haughty, you know, so to go from that we see from her this entire game, and then you get the mixture and everything, and she brings it, and when the Duke dies, you don't, she's not emotional for very long, but there's this flash of genuine sadness, and I feel so sad for her. And I feel bad for her because she can't express that sadness anywhere outside of that bedroom because of the game. And she's Madame de Fer, you know, she's the Iron Lady. Like, she cannot show any of that emotion anywhere else, and only the Inquisitor gets to see it. And it's not super interesting, like with the finding books for everything. I thought hers was really balanced, and I like that we get to see a little bit of emotion for her. Long story short, personal emotion gets an 8. Friendship. Being friends with Vivienne means giving and getting Vivienne what she wants. it's being her friend is the only friendship to me that is more complicated than Cole's, because she might become divine, but everything varies on multiple factors with her, with, you know, if where the mages recruited, were they given an alliance, were the Templars, like there's 50 different endings for her. And really, ultimately, it comes down to, what does Vivienne want? And she has really great conversation along the way. I'm not saying she's a bad person, I'm just saying, if you're going for a quality friendship, Vivienne is not where to find it. 6. Okay, default combat AI. She has the most useful mage ability. Like, period. The knight, yeah. She has the most useful mage ability. And she's more reliable in combat than even some of the other people from other classes. She is definitely, just pick skills, give her that one, the knight commander, I can't remember what it was called. But she has a revival ability in that's super fucking useful. So I'll give her an 8 for that. Party banter. Oh boy. So I was really conflicted on this. She doesn't have a lot of great party banter. She doesn't like a lot of the other companions and makes no bones about it. I think it's hasty to write her off as just a bitch. She's not just a bitch. She has an important station. But I don't think it's, considering the other 8 characters, I'm very comfortable giving her a 6 for party banter. So for Vivienne, it gives her recruitment of 9. Skyhold is 7. Winter Palace is 8. Personal mission is 8. Friendship is 6. Combat AI is 8. And party banter is 6. So that's Vivienne. She's the last one. So how do you think everyone fared? Are you ready to see how everyone fared? Originally I was going to finish this look with a wig, but I got into a fight with said wig, and now I have cut wig fibers all over my room, and now I have to clean my room and try to clean all that. It's fun. But I still owe you guys some rankings. So I threw a bunch of numbers at you, but what do the numbers really mean? How does everything work out? I wanted to do it this way because I didn't want to just rank them like, oh, this one's my favorite, and then this one. Like, I actually wanted to try to at least have some basis for why I think the characters rank the way they do. And some of them wound up ranking differently than I thought they would. Like, for sure, there's a couple that, especially if you know me, when you watch the next little bit of this, you're going to be surprised. And it's a good thing. So, let's get right to it. First, before I give you the final rankings, I'm going to show you how everyone compared to each other in each category, and then I'll do a final ranking. So, again, first category is recruitments. Okay, so recruitment was interesting because I threw goggles. Sorry, this is my Harley goggles. Harley goggles? Harley goggles. Anyway, so recruitment. Blackwell came in with a 7. Cassandra was a 6. Cole was an 8. Dorian was a 9. Bull was an 8. Sarah was an 8. Solas was a 6. Ferric was a 6. And Vivienne was a 9. Not so bad. You can kind of see where this is going. In the Skyhold category, Blackwell got a 6. Cassandra got an 8. Cole got a 6. Dorian got an 8. Bull got an 8. Sarah got an 8. Solas got an 8. Ferric got a 7. And Vivienne got a 7. Winter Palace. Blackwell came in with a 6. Cassandra got a 5. Cole was at a 6. Dorian was an 8. Bull was at an 8. Sarah was at a 7. Solas got his 9. Ferric got a 6, and Vivienne got an 8. Personal mission, personal material. Blackwell, 9. Cassandra was at a 6. Cole was at a 7. Dorian was at a 6. Bull was at a 7. Sarah was at a 7. Solas was an 8. Ferric was a 6, and Vivienne was an 8. In the romance/friendship category, oof. Blackwell was at a 6. Cassandra got an 8. Cole got a 7. Dorian got a 9. Bull got an 8. Sarah got a 6. Solas got a 4. Ferric got an 8, and Vivienne got a 6. Default combat AI. Blackwell got a 6. Cassandra got a 9. Cole got an 8. Dorian got an 8. Bull got a 7. Sarah got an 8. Solas got an 8. Ferric got a 9. And Vivienne got an 8. And then the last category was party banter. This one was a little... Blackwell got a 6. Cassandra got a 7. Cole got a 10. Dorian got a 9. Bull got a 9. An 8, I'm sorry. Sarah got a 7. Solas got a 7. And Ferric got an 8. And Vivienne got a 6. Now, if you've been doing the math along the way, you know there's actually a couple of ties here. And I wasn't sure how to break the tie, but I decided to, whichever character was more consistent without their scores, they would actually place above the other person. So in first place was Dorian with 57 out of 70. Second place was Iron Bull, 54 points. Coming in third place, which may surprise you, is Vivienne with 52. Fourth place was Cole, also with 52, but again, Vivienne had more consistent scores. Fifth place was Sarah with 51. Sixth place was Ferric with 50. Seventh place was Solas with 50. Eighth place was Cassandra with 49. And in last place, which was not a surprise to anyone, was Blackwell with 46. So if you know me, a couple of those are in a different order than I would place them just if I was blindly ranking them. And obviously this is just my opinion. You could think that my scores are completely backwards, and of course it's just a video game that we all love, and it's characters that we all love regardless of how they rank on our lists. I'm so sorry. Thank you all for watching this stupid, silly little video of mine. I'm gonna do this again with some other games. Right now I have a poll going, and Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas are kind of like battling it out, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the other games that I have on that list are also going to be in the running. I'll put the list in the description of this video, and you can help me decide which one to do next. I have to go clean up wig fibers right now. I'm super itchy. They're just as itchy as regular hair. Bye.